Each year during the spring, people from across the globe converge on central Nebraska to see the Sandhill cranes. Grand Island Convention and Visitors Bureau Executive Director Brad Millema said the migration is a big draw economically because it's such an exotic event.
The crane migration is different things for different people. Locals may have seen them out in cornfields and you're kind of like, okay, what's the big deal? But in the evening when those birds come back to the river in large numbers and the sound and the sights, I've been there with locals that said, I had no idea this is what was happening right in our backyard. And it's an exotic thing that happens right here in central Nebraska. And the visitors tell the story there. We've had visitors consistently from all 50 states come to the area to see the cranes. We've also had visitors, usually between 20 and 40 different countries are represented for people that come here. And that tells us something special is happening right here at home.
Millema said the cranes are part of the bigger draws in Grand Island, but the impact can vary from year to year.
The big ones, certainly Fauner Park and the horse racing and all the events that happen out there, the Nebraska State Fair, the Heartland Public Shooting Park, and the Sandhill cranes. Those would probably be what we would classify as perhaps some of our larger continuing type of things that Grand Island has built a really great reputation for hosting. And where the cranes are, it depends, because it's an ongoing event. Depends a little on the weather, depends a little on media, depends on a lot of things from year to year as to how it might impact actual room nights, restaurants, those kinds of things. I do know if the cranes don't come on time, the hotels are calling us saying, hey, we want them to come, because they certainly do appreciate that business.
Millema said the cranes are a stepping stone for tourists to visit Grand Island and central Nebraska again.
Nebraska as a whole is a very charming place. We don't think of ourselves that way, but we certainly do have a lot to offer people that might come to the area. And when you start to look at history, you start to look at food, you might start to look at other types of entertainment. Agriculture is a draw. They are interested in what are those great big circle pivots out in the cornfields. What do those things do? How do they work? What's going on? And so people come here to maybe see the cranes, or maybe they're a couple and the wife is the birder and she's interested in that, and the husband, maybe he's a history nut or he likes to see different things while you're here. And so we frequently will see visitors that do explore out into other areas, and many say that they do want to come back and explore us in the summertime or fall or some other time of the year.
Millema recommends visitors plan a few days to see the cranes.
You got to be realistic with it. I think it's important to realize that it's not a show like a Disney production where it just happens and it's this and this. It's wildlife, and from day to day, I've been out in viewing blinds literally hundreds of times, and it's different every time you go. And when you go, it's the kind of thing that hopefully people can plan several days to see. When they come to the area, to see how it might change depending on the weather. If it's a sunny day, the birds might be kettling up high. If it's a rainy or colder day, they might be hunkering down a little bit and having a different behavior. And so it really does change from day to day. And so a person's expectation when they come here, we can say generalities about the birds are a little more anxious when they first get here, and those late March, early April birds are a little more satisfied and content. Those are certainly behaviors that we've noticed over time. But any given year, who knows?
Millema says if you haven't seen the cranes on the river yet, there are 3 reasons you should.
It's big, it's loud, it's real. It really is. It's one of the largest migrations in the world. And these birds are big and loud, so we're drawn to them, we're attracted to them. It's easy to get to, right on an interstate. We have an airport right here in Grand Island where people can easily get here. You don't have to go to the Arctic tundra. You don't have to go on African safari. You can come right here in the central part of the United States and see a really spectacular wildlife migration, and that's certainly worth someone's effort. Not everyone that comes is a birder. Okay, birders are those people that can identify hundreds of species of birds just by listening or seeing them. Certainly they come. But the crane viewer is maybe somebody that appreciates more the outdoors. They might be somebody that enjoys going to national parks or doing those kinds of things. And there are a certain set of people that they're just hooked on cranes. A lot of times they're called craniacs. And they're folks that got to come back every year or two to get their fix or their sound of cranes to do that.
Reporting from Grand Island, Nebraska, I'm Zach Mayhew.